So now, finally making our way into the upper half of this unique top 10 list. Who are we going to find here then? To start us off in this final half, at our other middle spot on this top 10 list is the first, I believe, or one of the first of Mitja Borkert's Lamborghini designs, the somewhat eccentrically looking Sion. As one of these special few-off Lamborghinis, it's kind of hard to describe what the Sion really is, because it doesn't really look like all those that came before it, or even now, since its debut. It's kind of oddly and unusually shaped for a modern Lamborghini. And it's also kind of ridiculous sounding to hear that, because how can any modern Lamborghini be oddly shaped when they all basically just have that one super iconic wedge look, right? Well, the Sion is still kind of oddly shaped for a Lamborghini, and Mitja Borkert somehow has been able to unlock that achievement with the Sion design. But how so? I can't seem to be able to really put a finger on it. But it seems to have something to do with having a thinner and longer nose, as well as having some less beefier shoulders on it. Yeah, that's probably it. But at the end of the day, and after all that's said about it, it's still quite the attractive-looking car, and of course, that's how it made it onto this list in the first place of only these most attractive Lamborghinis in human history. And even this high up on it as well. So getting all the more closer now to our top 3 winners of this super special list. At this number 4 position, and the runner-up to those top 3 spots, is this flagship Lambo who's been that bridge between that old era and this new one. And that particular Lambo is this Murcielago. In some ways, it hasn't aged all that well, but in some of the ways, it has actually aged quite nicely. Overall, it's remained pretty timeless, thanks mostly to that apex and pinnacle shape that it has out of all of these cars that have ever existed. As mentioned, it straddles that fence between the old and the new quite perfectly with its looks. Or, as I said earlier, the better way of seeing it is that this Murcielago has been the bridging Lamborghini between those 2 old school and classic Lambos. They're the Countach and the Diablo, and these 2 most recent and most modern flagship Lambos that have been the Aventador and the Revuelto. So, yeah, overall, its looks have held up quite nicely, and I still choose them fairly often in racing games, and would still drive one around proudly, in real life, if I was given one to drive around in. So at this not too shabby 4th place spot is where it belongs, then. But shifting gears now, let's dive even deeper into the super iconic and world-renowned Lamborghini sharply angled wedge-shaped look then. So when it comes to this apex supercar look, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot that you can do with it, right? I mean, if you add too much here or take away too much there, it won't look like this iconic Lambo shape anymore then. In some ways, it's a double-edged sword. It's the ultimate supercar look, the most aggressive and most exotic look that an exotic car could ever look. So it's got that going for it. But once again, though, if you mess with it too much, and you add too much here and or take away too much there, now it's no longer that apex supercar look and shape anymore. See what I've been getting at? Well, fortunately for the super iconic supercar brand and the super special apex automotive look that they own and possess, in these more recent times, Lamborghini has actually been able to come up with a distinct and uniquely different enough alternative version of this super aerodynamic and world-renowned wedge-shaped look of theirs. And as we already saw earlier, this particular fairly new and unique version of this super iconic Lambo look has been their line of models that have come to be affectionately known as the Baby Lambos, who have been stablemates of, and have been galloping alongside their flagship brothers for a few generations now. And one of these more recent stablemates, as well as being one of their best yet, has been the super famous and super awesome looking Huracan model, who just happens to be our bronze place finisher of this particular top 10 Lambos focus list. And when it comes to these different Lambo looks, the Huracan just has a very striking, angry, and aggressive one going for it. It has also been quite the fan favorite too, because over these past 10 years, I've been seeing so many posts and shares of this little angry Hornet in so many social media posts. There have also been like 862 different versions of it. There have been so many different iterations and versions of this Huracan Baby Lambo model that I lost track of it all. I couldn't keep up, so I just gave up with trying to, because that's how many versions of it that they've made and that are out there right now. But for a non-flagship Lambo to land this high up on a list of all the greatest Lambos of all time, though, is saying a lot. So it's time to get on to our silver medalist position and to find out who has been a runner-up to the top spot of this super unique list of one of the most special and most celebrated automotive brands in all of automotive history. So who's it going to be? Why, for a whole decade, this second-place finisher was our latest and most modern flagship Lamborghini, up until this most recent one showed up, of course. So you've probably already surmised which one it is after that huge hint drop about it. Yes, I've been giving clues about the wildly popular and spectacularly designed Aventador. And like its stable mate in this generation, there were quite a few different versions and variants of the Aventador, although not as much as its little brother comrade that I can recall. But when it comes to the main focus of this list, and in light of its second-place finish, I must mention that in some ways, the Aventador's looks are actually even better and even more perfect than this list's first-place finisher. So why isn't it in that first-place spot, then? Well, because that first-place finisher has the advantage of time, the history and past of this brand, and being able to build off of it and or to improve upon it, as well as just being able to modernize their newest iteration with all that these latest technologies and techniques are able to afford to them. And that is an advantage that's just impossible for their past models to have, and which almost always has the edge at the end of the day. And that's exactly how it was able to ever so slightly edge out the superb second-place holder. So, with all of that having been said, it's time. It's finally time to find out who's been this list's top dog and the most awesome-looking Lamborghini that we have ever seen to date. So these super special and super exclusive cars, they don't get refreshed that much or very often when compared to their non-exotic counterparts. But, see, it's all about quality over quantity. Because when they do get refreshed, it is a huge deal. When they do get refreshed, everyone takes notice, particularly all the automotive journalists and your everyday gearhead of this world. Heck, just to give you a prime example with all this, the first Lamborghini Sian that was ever delivered to the U.S., the popular automotive news reporting website, carscoops.com, wrote an entire article about that event. I mean, just think about that. In our recent times, have you ever heard of a popular automotive magazine or website who wrote an article to celebrate or to recognize the delivery of the first Toyota Camry to Germany? Or how about ever reading a popular website article about the first Mazda CX-5 that was delivered to the States in this current generation? I didn't think so. But the first limited-run Lamborghini to arrive in a massive country like America? Oh, that's big enough news to write a whole article on for a major automotive news reporting site. So, what I was hinting at with that talk about the Aventador is that somehow, like how the LaFerrari somehow was still able to outdo and supersede their already insanely incredible Enzo. Somehow, just like that LaFerrari, this latest Lamborghini flagship was able to rise above and outdo its predecessor as well. That I, of course, did not think that they were going to be able to outdo. But overall, the Revuelto has been a worthy successor to the Aventador and a worthy latest entrant in this fairly long line of the super iconic and world-renowned Lamborghini super angled wedge-shaped look. Oops, I did it again. I was able to somehow spoil another big first-place reveal. But yep, you already heard correctly. The newest and latest Lamborghini flagship supercar, the Revuelto, is also our highest finisher on this list that's been totally dedicated to these spectacular raging bulls. And like these video game console generations, I wasn't so sure on how long they were going to be able to keep on improving upon this one super iconic, but only basically one way to do it look. But with this current generation, they were somehow able to surprise me yet again with something that I was not expecting at all. Somehow still being able to continue to hone and to modernize this super iconic and renowned automotive shape and look that they have even more after that stupendous design that was already accomplished with their Aventador. And somehow have still been able to astound and still cause jaws to drop. All these generations later, after that original one that did this very same thing so many decades ago now. And this Revuelto look has basically also become my current favorite Lamborghini look and design of all time too. As talked about, it somehow miraculously was able to supplant and to dethrone their previous generation's insanely perfectly designed Aventador flagship model that I did not think they were ever going to be able to outdo. But did you catch that basically term that I added to my statement about how this Revuelto model has now become my current all-time favorite flagship Lamborghini? No? Well, I did include that qualifier because I still do have my reservations about it. But an entirely dedicated video would have to be made just to go over and to cover all of those reservations. For now, did you agree with this list of mine? Most of it? All of it? None of it? Or how about at least my top 3? What would your favorite Lambos of all-time lists have looked like? Feel free to drop those thoughts in that comment section down below. And until the next interesting list from yours truly, I'm out. Peace.